Warning. This program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions. With your host, Berzerker, this is Unshackled Fury.
Heyo! Welcome back, one and all, to the house that Rage built, your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions, Unshackled Fury. I'm your host, Berzerker, and this is episode 93. On today's show, patch 9.1 is here at last, shards of domination are all the rage, and the Sylvanas mystery continues. But first, as the title of this episode has said, and postings for this show have indicated, change is indeed afoot here at the House of Fury. For the last 3.5 years, spanning more than 70 episodes of this show, my warrior friend, Navox, has faithfully and dutifully served his role as my co-host through thick and thin, multiple expansions, and a pandemic, if you might remember. He's provided a great voice for our community and a counterbalance for me here on this show. But as they say, nothing lasts forever, and so it is with a grateful heart that I announce Navox has moved on from this show and from World of Warcraft in general. That's not to say you never know what the future may hold. As a wrestling fan, you never say never. But after talking with him at some length about this, it's clear that the game is not moving in the right direction for him. And so he is living the credo that we've talked about so many times on this show, which is that if you aren't having fun playing a game, then it's time for you to move on. And so that is what he has done. For me, this is a long stretch that we've had together. Like I said, more than 70 episodes. When I first started this show, it actually was not on that long when it was just me before I took a break. For those of you that haven't been around the entire time, which, judging by the numbers, is not most of you. There was a time when I first started this show back in 2015. I think it was October of 2015. And it was just me. I did, I think, 18 episodes or so. I took a year break. And during that time, I kept thinking about bringing the show back. But I really felt like I needed another voice. And even right now, and I'll talk about this in a minute, I'm not sure that me alone here is necessarily the right thing for the show. So when I was looking at bringing it back, so this now would have been, summer of 2017 or so, Navox and I had crossed paths, having been a previous co-host on the Converted podcast. When he was there, I'd met him on that, and then we just kind of kept in touch. He would comment or send me messages from time to time about stuff, and so when I thought about bringing it back, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, man, if I do this, do you want to jump in with me?" And he was down with that. So all these years later, three and a half years later, here we are, and I think we made some pretty good content, had some pretty fun shows. We had some pretty good guests. I had some good people on here. I think we had a good time. And, when he started to feel like it seemed like he wanted to move on, I think I could feel that. And, as we've talked about many times, like, you can't just hang on to hang on. You gotta do what's right for you. And I think he's making the right decision, for him. There's a lot of conversation about this out in the community right now where people have this sort of love-hate relationship with the game, and it really should be kind of a mostly love, and if it's starting to curdle in that way, you gotta make a change. And so that's what's going on here. And so with all of that said, and I know that Nav, I know you're listening to this, I want to thank you, my brother, for all the years of support on this show and everything that you've done. I know that we're still going to be in touch on the regular, but thank you, and I hope that no matter what you do from here on out, that you're having fun. So for the future of this show, I'm still here. Show's still going to go on. This I suppose this would be an opportunity to be like, yeah, well, I guess we're packing it in. Oh, we're done. But no, I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going with this ride. Yeah. It's hard to quit. It's hard to say no, I guess. I don't know. I still feel like I've got shit to say, so I'm gonna keep on saying it. It's gonna take me a little while to get my bearings. I will say that. Going from co-host to no co-host, it's a different vibe. I think the show is gonna feel a little different. It's gonna sound different. And it will take me a little bit to get my bearings. I'm not going to lie. It is a little odd not to have that other voice to bounce things off of. You might hear some more, maybe longer pauses as I gather my thoughts, or I grab a drink from the Yeti here to sort of quench my thirst, or just to stop having such a dry mouth. So we probably won't have a sort of win Nav seat kind of thing. I don't know that there'll be a rotating list of guest co-hosts kind of thing. I haven't spoken to anyone. I haven't reached out to anybody. I haven't done anything with that yet. This is all still pretty new and pretty fresh. But if you know someone that you'd like to see on this show, let us know. Reach out to them and reach out to me. I'm open to having other folks come in and we'll chat. I just haven't really honestly gotten to that point where I've started to think about anything other than we got a big patch. It's here. Finally, we're doing it, and we're gonna talk about it here. So I did want to plug, because some of you may have come over from this. I did appear on Rolling Restart, which is another World of Warcraft podcast that is hosted by the legend that is Ro, longtime WoW podcast guru, the keeper of the ancient scrolls that he is. He was kind enough to have me on the show along with Cinder and Manny from the community that you may have seen them out there. I know Manny does for Azeroth and I think one other show. Cinder is a Twitch streamer, and that was my first opportunity to really meet either of them. Manny and I have crossed paths like in Twitch comments, but we've never really actually, we haven't really, none of us really met. It's all over voice, right? It's not like face-to-face shaking hands, seeing a face to a name. But in this sort of digital age, we have now met and had a great conversation there. I encourage you to check it out. It should be out, I think, the day after this show posts. So by the time you're listening to this, you may already have access to it. So check it out. It was fun. We had a good time. So thanks again to Ro for having me on there, and welcome aboard anybody that might have heard my nonsense over there and was like, maybe I'll check out what this dude's about. Well, here you are, Unshackled Fury. I usually talk about what's going on in the community. There's really nothing that's off limits. I do swear. I do talk about whatever's on my mind. Sometimes it's therapy, sometimes it's Warcraft. It's a little bit of everything. But welcome aboard if you're new, and thanks for joining the show. So with all of that said, now I think I've covered all of my bases. I'm not going to have a rage portion for the show. For the new people, I do have a little segment usually in here, Let's Rage, where I might poke on something that's getting my ire up. But you know what? It's patch time. It's 9.1 time. We gotta jump in, dive in, have some fun with that. So why don't we go ahead and jump into our news? So at long last, long-suffering Warcraft players that we are, patch 9.1 finally here after, what, a 218-day wait? 218-day wait for the first major content patch, at least according to Taliesin and Evatel, which I'm not going to argue with them. They were kind enough to put out a graphic on their Twitter, if you haven't seen it, sort of charting the number of days between patches going back to Mist of Pandaria. And you can see it's not just a figment of your imagination. It has indeed been the longest wait that we have had. In fact, they point out that all of the content for Warlords of Draenor pretty much happened in the same window that we've waited for one patch for Shadowlands. So it took 223 days, according to them, to release all of the content for Warlords of Draenor, and after 218, we're finally getting patch 9.1 for Shadowlands. So, to give you context, it has been a long wait, but I think we can understand that given there was a pandemic going on, and this was content, if we believe as we're told, that was, for the vast majority of it, developed and now going to be put out during the pandemic, and that is at home, not people talking in offices and, having to schedule things that usually you could do in 5 minutes. And for all of us that have teleworked for the last year plus, that while some things, it's nice not to have to be in an office all the time necessarily, there are some things that are definitely slowed down because you can't just walk over to somebody and have a 5-minute conversation. You gotta schedule time, a lot of it, and figure out whatever you gotta do. So It's been a delay, but here we are. We're here. We're on the eve of it. As this show posts, patch 9.1, Chains of Domination, should be going live in one day. I think we can all be pretty happy about that. So if you want, on the World of Warcraft website, they do post all of the content update notes. So if you want to see a breakdown, sort of section by section, they have all that posted for you. Because sometimes it's hard to tell. I know there's Wowhead, an MMO Champion, and Icy Veins, and wherever else you get your news. It can get a little confusing at times because there's so much that goes on. You're like, well, what does this change? What does this change? Did this thing actually happen? Because there's a beta process and a PTR process, and things will flip-flop. And I, for one, as I've said many times, I get easily confused based on all these PTR changes. There is stuff that happened at the beginning of BFA that I remember differently because they changed it in the beta, and I still am like, oh shit, that's right. That did not happen that way. So I really appreciate that there's these kinds of notes because it makes things a lot easier for me. So they have a great breakdown on this website. They do talk about most of the stuff, but I will say, as a caveat, there are always undocumented changes. And things like that would be, and at least I don't think so, the running backwards animation. Like right now, you kind of do like this weird little walk back. You kind of did a hop back before, and this is probably 2 patches ago, and this just kind of snuck in. I really enjoyed the way that we kind of did this little hop backwards motion, but now it's like a little stutter step kind of thing. So it's stuff like that. I don't know if they're going to draw attention to it, but with this, you've got changes. Obviously, we have the new zone, the new Maw zone, Korthia, the City of Secrets. So we're going to be spending a lot more time in the Maw. I hope you don't hate that. Which I think most everybody It seems like I've talked to does not had a good time with the mall, but that's where we're going. Going back to the mall. We're going to be spending a lot of time there. City of Secrets, Korthia. There's going to be a new faction that we're going to be working with, Death's Advance. You're going to be doing all kinds of things in there that eventually are going to lead us up to flying. Hello. Who doesn't want to do flying? Come on. We got to fly. We got to fly. So if you are not at 40 renown right now, you got like one day. You better get on it, because as we go through this new content, especially early on, it looks like it's designed to get us to flying by week 2. So there's going to be 40 more levels of renown coming. But you got to get to, I believe we talked about this last time, 44. And that is going to come as you are doing this new content. There's going to be new Covenant campaign chapters. There's going to be the Korthia stuff. It's all going to be sort of interspersed, right? So you're going to be working on that. Kel'Thuzad is back, in case you didn't know. So Kel'Thuzad is going to be dispatching tormentors of Torghast throughout the Maw and Korthia, and by defeating one of them, you are going to get a Tormentor's Cache, which they say is brimming with soul cinders, and also contain powerful equipment, as well as a Bamethra chain link to collect and bind together to summon the eerie hand mount, the Hand of Bamethra. And I know that that is a mount that has gained a lot of attention. You know, there's all kinds of crazy looking thing mounts that people are getting super excited about. So those are the kinds of things that you'll read about in the patch notes. You know, for me, I think a lot of what I want to know is not in here, which is the story stuff. That's what I'm most curious about. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm excited about a new zone, see what's up there. I'm excited about Sanctum of Domination. For the most part, the ending I'll talk about in a second. We'll see. Tazavesh, the new mega dungeon. I'll run through it. I'll see what's up. Flying, of course, like I talked about. Really excited about that. But the story. What's going on with Anduin? What is Sylvanas doing? What is the jailer doing? What does all this mean? What in the world is happening? That's the stuff that I'm waiting for. And I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous. I know people have already looked ahead, and I think there's a few, what do they call it, encrypted cinematics that will not be encrypted here in just a very short while. But I don't know. I'm hoping I'm right. That Anduin's connection to the light is what's going to save him. Maybe there's a connection with what's going on with Uther. You know, I went back and I watched all of the cinematics in chronological order. There's a couple of places on YouTube you can find this. If you look up like Shadowlands cinematics in chronological order, there will be a few videos that will pop up for you. And I watched through those, and I was kind of trying to pick up on, all right, what are some things that I see? What are some commonalities? What are some themes? And one of the people that I haven't seen a lot of that I'm wondering about here, because there is a thread, it feels like, between teachers and students, is where is Gen? Where's Gen? What's Gen doing? Because last I saw him, least that I can remember, right, with respect to major story stuff, Anduin was getting yoinked right out from next to him. We've had Uther and the whole thing with Arthas and what's going on there. You know, the Archon, who was not really a teacher, but, you know, in a superior position over Devos, who went bad. So there's kind of these kinds of relationships where I wonder what Gen's doing. Now, we've also heard, speaking of people we haven't heard from, that Sylvanas' boyfriend, haven't seen him in a while. Haven't seen that little scruffy bastard. Where's he been hanging out at? Well, maybe we'll see something soon on him too. But anyway, back to the point at hand. If you are looking for a full breakdown of everything that's coming, or at least the vast majority of it, go to the World of Warcraft website. You can see their most up-to-date notes. It also covers, beyond the stuff I've already spoken about, class changes. Those are always big. Other items that are coming, changes to rune carving, what's going on with the Maw, changes to Torghast, what I've talked about before. Loving those changes, making that more rewarding on a regular basis and feeling like you're not just running for hours and wasting your time. So super pumped about that. And also a couple changes to the UI and the WoW Companion app, which, to be honest, I don't really use that much, but I don't know. Maybe I will use it some more. World of Warcraft has put out a survival guide video. I do recommend checking that out. That's also a good primer for what you need to know. It's only about 5 minutes long, I think. I'm going to pull it up here real quick. Yeah, it's about 5 minutes long. And that'll give you a good breakdown. Narrated by Josh Allen, I think. I think he does all the voiceovers for these now, so he really got into this one. I had to laugh at a couple points. Very motivated. Along with that, there have also been a few other 9.1 related interviews that have just popped up recently. Us Gamers had an interview with Ian Hazakostas. MGG had an interview with Steve Danuser and Morgan Day. Just a note, MGG is a French website. So if you actually go to the site, hope you can read it. Gamers Hub TV had an interview with Jeremy Fiesel, Muffinus. Haven't seen him in a little bit. One other one that I recommend this for more than just interest reason. Forbidden Planet TV did an interview with Steve Danuser and Sean Copeland about the Folk and Fairy Tales of Azeroth. Sean Copeland is someone who you should know, but we don't hear from very often. He's basically the Blizzard historian. And I think he was on Twitter at one point, but it was really abusive and nasty, and people just kept fucking with him, so he bounced off. I think his wife jumped in at some point and was like, please leave him alone. He is the guy when it comes to Blizzard history. Like, this is your lore master. You want to give a lore master title to somebody, it's this guy. And so getting an opportunity to hear from him is very rare. So more than just, hey, it's an interview, I should check it out. I would listen to it just because you don't get to hear anybody pick this guy's brain very often, or to hear his perspective or thoughts on anything. So those are some interviews that we've seen recently. Might be a couple more coming out. Those are just the ones that were most recent. But check them out. I think one or two of them are video ones you can watch. The other ones I think you have to read through. But listen, if I can read it, you can read it. So going through everything, like I talked about, I'm excited about the story. I think the changes to Torghast are great. Raiding, I am a raider. Hopefully, as this episode is posting, my team and I are getting ready to get that heroic Denathrius kill in this final week and get our head of the curve achievement, because boy, it's been a long tier, and I hope that we can get it down after all the hours that we've collectively spent working on that. Korthia, I don't know that Korthia in and of itself is the most interesting zone, at least on the surface. I'm not like, oh shit, I gotta go there. Like, it's not that kind of feeling. But it's the continuation of the story. Why are we going there? There's just a lot of mystery, and that to me is what's intriguing about this. I think like a lot of folks, and maybe it's just part of our human brain, there's a mystery, we have to solve it, whatever it is, even if it's where the fuck is my cheese slicer, it's like I have a mystery, I need to solve it. He has a city of secrets. All right, let's find those secrets. Let's see what's going on. So this I think this will be interesting. I think it'll be interesting. I'm curious. Flying, of course. Talked about flying. It's gonna be a nice change, I think. Picking up world quests, doing some other things, making it quicker, making it less of a pain in the ass. Being able to see the zone from higher up. I know that's one of the things I always like to do once I get flying, is to be able to just jump on that mountain and boom, just hit that space bar and just climb and see how high up I can get, where I can go, what I can do. It'll make some of these little puzzles easier to get to, that's for sure. To get some extra loot. So with that, Blizzard has also put out a little post, new Covenant mounts coming in Chains of Domination. So along with reaching renown level 44 and completing the quest The Primus Returns, spoiler alert, within the Chains of Domination campaign Last Sigil, you will obtain and use the, quote, Memories of the Sunless Skies, which is a consumable, kind of like the, books that we used to learn. And then we'll have to obtain level 45 renown, and you'll get one of these fancy mounts. With Kyrian, it's the, as we've talked about before, the Elysian Aquilon, which is kind of like a cool armored version of a lot of the other owly-looking stuff that you've seen. The Venthyr, I think, get the best one. I think the Sinfall Gravewing is the best Covenant mount, and I can't even hate on it. This thing is so badass looking. It's this crazy-looking gargoyle, something armored. It's wild. I love it. Night Fae, get the Ardenweald Walderling, which is this fox. That's fox. Wolf with big antlers and a tail. It's perfect for Ardenweald. That's all I'm gonna say. And Necrolords get a Maldraxian Corpsefly. I don't want to be anywhere near that. I'm not even gonna look at it again because that thing is hideous and scary. And if you are into that vibe, good for you because it looks amazing. So overall, looking like a pretty robust patch. Some interesting stuff. Keep us going. The one thing right now that worries me the most, the fate of Sylvanas. What is happening there? Because it seems like it's becoming more clear that she will continue on past this patch. They're trying to be very cryptic about it in terms of what's going on, but they're not saying that this is the definitive end. It's that there's still more mystery at hand. So I need this to end, folks. Not gonna lie. I need an end to this at some point to be like, okay, what are we doing? What's happening here? Are we finally done? Did we redeem her and I can go vomit in a corner somewhere after all this time? Because, oh my God, you can't justify what happened to Teldrassil, but whatever. We'll see. That has me worried. That has me worried because I don't know. I just don't think they're going to let her go. Although they let go of Varian without a problem. That's right. That's right. I said it. So, one piece that is coming. A piece of gear and gearing strategy and overall discontent, it seems like it's coming, are the Shards of Domination. Shards of Domination. Let's talk about Shards of Domination for a minute. So, Shards of Domination are a new sort of gearing raid loot system that's coming. That is definitely going to have an effect on how you gear as a raider, how you gear, I think, as a high-end player in certain places. And essentially what this is that this is like a tier system light. It's not quite like a hardcore tier system where you get the head and it has this on it, and you get the shoulders and it has this on it. This is something that's a little more, what do we say? Maybe a little more lore kind of style, because what this is that in 9.1, you are going to have raid gear that drops with what are called domination sockets. And in this gear, helms, shoulders, and chests. So helms, shoulders, and chests that you get out of the new raid, Sanctum of Domination, they will have these domination sockets. Now, this is a 5-piece system, and so the other 2 pieces that come into play are going to depend on what type of armor that you wear. So like for me, being a plate wearer, bracers and gloves make up the other 2. So as I'm gearing up to the raid, I'm looking at helm, shoulders, chest, bracers, and gloves. That's my 5. If you are cloth, your extra 2 are bracers and belts, leathers, gloves, and boots, mail, belt, and boots. So those are the 5 spots, essentially, that you're looking at. So you want to go by your gear type. And then in each of those, you have a choice. Because there are going to be 3 types of what they call shards of domination that you will be putting into those socketed pieces. There is a blood, a frost, and an unholy type. And so you will have to pick which of those, and it's depending on which ones you have, because you will have to also gather those as you go along. And you will have to decide, okay, which one am I putting in? And so for each of those 3, there is a damage version, a healer version, and essentially like a tank protection version. And you will have to decide, okay, well, depending on my gear and what I want to do, which ones am I going to put in? There is a video that Dratnos put out as he goes through the Wowhead guide on this that I think perfectly illustrates how the system is supposed to work, and it was really helpful for me because he put together a chart showing where essentially when you're putting together your 5-piece set, what you are going to want to do is you're going to want to at least have 3 of one type and then 2 essentially filling out whatever else is going to be most helpful to your role. The bonuses from this, so you get a set bonus essentially for having 3 of a kind, and then you'll have your other 2. There are set bonuses for each, and you'll have to go and you'll have to look at the postings and other things for the specific details on this because it's too long for me to list here. But it doesn't seem like it's like you're not going to get crazy overpowered or anything like that. We're talking about small percentage increases in damage or healing or survivability, those kinds of things. But as a whole, I think it's going to be helpful. And depending on how this system works out, this isn't the kind of mini game that really breaks me. In fact, I am interested to see how this plays out. I kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like how this looks and what this looks like. Now the big piece of this that people are freaking out about is how this relates to legendaries and what the nexus is with legendary pieces that you've already crafted, where let's say you are a certain class and you've made your legendary, and now come to find out that your 5-piece comes with a bracer and you already have a legendary bracer, so now you've got to start all over again. God damn it. That is the major concern that people are having right now. And here's what I'm gonna say: don't worry about it. I'm telling you, that's me saying it. Don't worry about it too much, because even if you have to recraft your legendary, Torghast is being revamped in a way that you're going to be getting a lot more Soul Ash, and Soul Ash is going to be more readily available to you in this patch. And so it will be an annoyance for sure, but it won't be as bad as it is right now. On top of that, any legendary that is crafted in 9.1 will have a gem slot already put into it. I haven't seen like nitty-gritty specific confirmation on this, but I believe that also includes if you upgrade to a rank 5 or to a rank 6 legendary. There seems to be some discussion about this. I haven't seen like a final word on that, but I believe that is the case. Even if that's not the case, having to recraft something so it does have that gem slot, it doesn't sound like it will be all that bad. On top of that, keep in mind, you are not going to have all 5 pieces of Sanctum of Domination gear all at once. Like that's not going to happen. If you're top tier player, yeah, you're going to get it a lot quicker and you got some things to think about. But for the most part, the rest of us, it's going to be a while. So even if you do have to recraft something, I wouldn't worry too much about it because it is going to take some time. And I talked about this on Rolling and Restart, and there's been plenty of conversation about this elsewhere. Understand the heartburn 100%, but I wouldn't get too worried about it. Honestly, it's going to be a while until everybody has everything that they want and need and are going crazy. So on top of this, one other piece is that you can, or a couple other little notes here, you can swap out your gems, your shards, I should say. You can swap them out. You don't lose them. It's not like jewel crafting where they get destroyed. So you'll be able to hold on to them, and you're upgrading them. You'll be able to upgrade them over time, and they will have different effects depending on their rank. So I think it's an interesting system, and it's, you know what? It's the flavor for the moment. Don't forget this too. This is one patch, and they're trying something a little bit different, a little bit new. I don't have a problem with that. Let's see how it works out. If it's total dog shit and everybody hates it, guess what? It'll go the way of corruption gear, and this will be the last time we see it. And everybody go, remember 9.1 when this thing sucked? Ah, that was amazing. Or, you know what? Maybe this ends up being okay. Be like, you know what? This isn't so bad. It's kind of interesting. There's a little mini game. Granted, you know, once the theory crafters come in and say this is the best way to do it, that'll probably be the end of the game. And, you know, everybody will just do that. Maybe there's some wiggle room. I don't know. But I think it's an interesting shot at something new. And I say, you know what? Let's go with it. Let's try it. So all of that is coming here in the very near future, as in like one day. If you haven't, I said, if you download this episode the day it comes out, you're waiting one more day. There's one day to prepare. So I would say get ready. Get up to 40. Make sure you get up to 40 on that renown. Trying to think if there's anything else that anybody else needs to see. You got get ready for some Torghast runs. You'll be doing that. I think that's the major thing. Getting that renown up to 40. I think that's really the big thing right now. I don't know. Maybe get conduit energy up. I don't know. I've seen a lot of information, conversation going on about conduit energy lately, and I gotta. It's fine. It's all good. We'll be fine. So, Sanctum of Domination coming. We're gonna have some fun with that. Chains of Domination, the patch. Hopefully it's fun all the way around. Gotta hope. This, as evidenced by this show, the wait for this patch has taken a toll on a lot of different things. So I hope that this wait is worth it. Now, this, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, Chains of Domination is just another patch. But it doesn't really feel like just another patch. It feels like something. It's got a little bit more weight to it, perhaps. But we'll see. On June 29th, that's the day. Hope to see everybody there. I know I'm going to be on, having some fun, banging away on that last ahead of the curve achievement. But see everybody in Korthia. We're going to have some fun. Get ready. It's coming. So away from that, now that we know patch 9.1 is coming, there's then logically, what do we think about 9.2? Is there, or when will there be a 9.3? The questions that this prompts also aligns with something else that happened recently, which is that the Sylvanas book that I've talked about on here before has moved. The original release date for the Sylvanas novel, it's just titled Sylvanas. Originally, it was supposed to release November 9th of this year, and it has been pushed back to February 22nd of 2022, which, yes, is 2/22/22. Immediately, I know what I started thinking, and other people started thinking the same thing too, which is, what does this align with? The author and Blizzard employee, Christy Golden, put out a tweet basically saying, hey, I'll just read you what she said. She said, hi all. Many of you have contacted me, re the date change to February 22nd for the Sylvanas novel. I'm sure you all can appreciate that a book of this magnitude and significance should be given the dedication it's due. So we're taking the extra time to make sure it's the best it can be. Which, hey, that's great. Of course you want something to be the best that it can be, but come on. We're Warcraft players. We read the tea leaves. We want to know what's up. And I had even put out on Twitter, what do we think? Is this aligned with a 9.2 or a 9.3 or a BlizzCon line part 2? Like, what do we think this is? I did end up having a little back and forth with Jason Lucas from the Starting Zone on Twitter about this. Appreciate his conversation there. And, we were talking about how, on one hand, there is an expectation that Blizzard is going to have another expansion coming in, a year and a half or so. That every other year, we're looking at having something come out. So if we've got 9.1 right now, maybe February of next year, you're looking at the timetable, maybe that's patch 9.2, and then that's it for Shadowlands. And later in 22, we're going to wherever we're going next. Is that possible? Hell yeah, that's possible. Based on everything we've seen, it's absolutely possible. I don't know that the wealth of the story that I've seen, the breadth of the story that I think I've been presented in Shadowlands will be contained within 2 patches. It feels like there should be at least a 9.3, but that's a good point that Jason brings up about release dates and expectations, especially with Activision Blizzard and shareholders. We've talked about this. So what does that look like? Quite honestly, this could be a patch 9.2 and a BlizzCon line type situation colliding. Maybe that is a perfect storm for that. I don't think it's just to work on the book, given that we're going to find out here very shortly the fate of Sylvanas to some extent, where there's some continuation of this story. There's some information in that novel, I'm sure, that ties into what we're doing now, and it can't be known before a certain point in time. So I'm just going to go ahead and say February, that's when we're looking at 9.2. I think that's about how long it's going to be. Given that we're still technically in the pandemic. People are still working from home. I don't think that Blizzard has sent their people back to the offices yet. I don't know that they ever will the way that they did before. I mean, it's possible. So it's very likely that could be 9.2. So we'll see. I don't know. Give me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. If you're listening to this and you've got some other kind of crazy theory about what this could be, I'd love to hear it. Throw it down. Let me know. Speaking of shareholders, last bit that I wanted to cover today is a follow-up on an item that I talked about some time past with respect to Blizzard or Activision Blizzard head honcho, CEO Bobby Kotick, where he had agreed to take a 50% pay cut a couple of months ago, and that pay cut was finally just approved by Activision Blizzard, by the shareholders, in fact. He still gets $155 million. So, hooray for him. But if you recall, back a couple of years ago when Blizzard had laid off 800 people and there was still insane CEO and executive salary stuff going on, people were calling for change. And 54% of shareholders agreed to this pay cut. That's what I'm looking at. 54% of the votes cast. So it was a very narrow margin, but they're going to cut his salary by 50%. It's still $875,000 with there's all kinds of bonus potential and stuff like that. So dude is still richer than shit. But that pay cut did finally get approved, and it's something that I'll continue to talk about on the show, following up on the fate of Activision Blizzard, what's going on with their stock and everything else. I'm going to use my phone here now that I'm thinking about it, right off the cuff. Activision Blizzard is currently trading at $92 a share, plus or minus a few cents. So it's down a bit from its high, which was, I'm gonna pull this up here. It was about $105 a share back in February. So it's come down a little bit, but it's still well above where it was a couple of years ago. So they're continuing to do well, and that does wrap up to the conversation that Jason and I were having on Twitter about things like Warcraft expansions. Do they take as long? Are they going to take longer? Has the pandemic had an effect where now we have a reasonable expectation to bump things out? And do people whose entire livelihoods depend on bonuses make those decisions? We'll see. So that's where we are. Big changes for this show. 9.1 here at last. Chains of Domination. We've got something to finally start running and gunning with. Shards of Domination are coming with that. I think we're gonna be okay, but we'll see how that plays out. Sylvanas' book move and Bobby Kotick's pay. All right. Well, that does it for this episode. Remember, you can always follow me and this show on Twitter at Berzerker Rage and _Fury. And you can join our Discord, links for which are in the profile of this show on Twitter and the Warcraft Radio directory. Feel free to contact this show with your questions, comments, or otherwise by going to unshackledfury.com. And you can find this show wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high. And we'll see you next time. Farewell.